Hello Year 5 and welcome to your second maths lesson this week. So we're going to continue looking at dividing two digits by one digit, but today we're going to be adding in the additional skill of remainders, okay? So before we do that, I'm going to warm your brains up, okay? So we're going to be looking at some more of our multiplication facts from last week. So what I would like to do is like you to pause the video and have a go at these flashback questions for me. Okay, so what is 253 multiplied by 3? So it's going back to our multiplying 3 digits by 1 digit. So you need to make sure you use your column multiplication. So your answer should have been 759. Number 2, work out the area of the rectangle. We know for the area that we're going to have to multiply those two numbers together. We know that's going to give us 20 centimetres because its area has got to be centimetres squared. Now, what is 10 to the power of 2? Well, we know that doesn't mean 10 times 2. But that 2 tells us we've got to multiply our number by itself twice. So our sum would have been 10 times 10. So the answer is 100. Number 4, what is 100 more than 9,308? So if we're adding 100, we're looking at our hundreds column. So all we have to do is add 100 to our hundreds column because there's no additional values to add to our tens or ones. So the answer should be 9,408. Okay, well done if you got those all correct. What I would like you to do now for today's lessons, like to have a go at this retrieval practice. These answers, some of the answers might have a remainder in them. Okay, so you need to work out how many times each of those numbers goes into each of the original numbers and see if you can have a go. So pause the video and have a go. Okay, the first one, we know that 7 into 21 goes equally, okay, so it ends up going in 3 times. Okay, 22 divided by 7, well, if we know that 21 divided by 7 is going to be 3, then we know that 22 divided by 7 must be 3, remainder 1, because we know it goes in 3 times, because we get to 21, but to get from 21 to 22, we have an additional 1, so we have a remainder. 34 divided by 7 is going to be the same. It goes in 4 whole times, okay, if we count it to 28. But from 28 to 34, we have an additional 6. So it's 4, remainder 6. And 35 divided by 7, we know that 7 multiplied by 5 is 35. Okay, so well done if you got those correct. So we're going to explore that a little bit more today. Okay, so let's start off with this number here, 75 divided by 6. Okay, so I'm going to use my place value counters to help me with this today. So we're going to have to do some exchanging like we've been doing all of last week. So here I need to exchange my numbers over. So I have here my 7 columns, okay, my 7 rows. And I need to split, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have my 6 rows. And I need to partition my 10s and my 1s. So I can exchange these 6 10s over. But I have an additional 10 left over. Now I can't fit that into my 10s column. So I'm going to have to exchange that for 10 lots of 1s. Okay, so all together now I have my 10 lots of 1s, add my additional 1s here. So what I need to do now is I need to try and split those equally into 6 of my rows. Okay, so let's partition this. Now we know that one of my numbers is going to have to be a multiple of 6. Okay. Unlike last week where they both were multiples of 6, because we know there's going to be a remainder, we know that the other number doesn't have to equally go into our number. So let's think of the biggest multiple of 6 we can think of. Well, that's going to be 60, because we know that 60 divided by 6 is going to give us 10. To get from 60 to 75, we're going to have remainder 15. Now, if we did 15 divided by 6, we can't do. So let's move these over. So if I move my 1s over, I can fit 2 in each of my rows. So at the moment, I have 12. Okay, but I have these additional 3 left over. Okay, so that tells me that, well, I can get 6 into 15 twice because 2 times 6 is 12. But to get from 12 to 15, I have 3 left over. Okay, so if I add my 10 and my 2 together, that's going to give me 12 plus my remainder is going to give me 12 remainder 3. Okay. Based on that concept, I'd like you to now have a go at doing these questions. If it helps, I'd like you to make sure that you try and partition your numbers. Okay, so one of them's going to need to be a multiple of whatever we're looking at. So it's going to be either a multiple of 3 and a multiple of 5. And then you're going to have your additional numbers left over. If it helps to draw with your place value counters, then by all means have a go at doing that as well. So pause the video and have a go at those 2 questions. Okay, so number 1 is going to look something like this. So I had to think of one of my biggest multiples of 3s. Now it's easier to think of it as a multiple of my 10 lots of 3s, okay? So here If I count it up, I managed to split my 3 tens and I had 7 ones in each column. So I had 17, but I had the additional 2 left over. Okay, so that tells me my answer was 17 remainder 2. Now if I look at this one here, so I thought my biggest one here, so we did it again as the multiple of 10, so 50. So 50 and 14, I know that 50 divided by 5 is 10. Okay, and that's going to go in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, because 5 times 10 is 50. I know to get my 5s into 14, well, I know that 2, 10, so 5, 10. Well, I know that 5, 10, well, that gives me 2, but to get from 10 to 14 gives me 4 left over. So all together here, I have my 10 and my 2, so 12, remainder 4. Okay, so well done if you got those ones correct. Now, here I'm going to look at 17 divided by 5. Okay, so I have my 10 for my 17, I have my 7 ones. Okay, now I can't split my 10, okay, across my equal number of 5 columns. I'm going to have to exchange that 10 for ones. So now what I've got is I've got 17 lots of ones. So now I need to think, well, how many lots of ones can I get now from 5 to 17? Well, if I count my 5 times tables, and I've got 5, 10, 15. Now that I can't go to 20 because that's bigger than 17, but now I can fit 15. Now I know that I can fit 3 lots of those 5s into my ones. Okay, so I've got 3 lots of 5s is 15. Now I know from 15 to 17 I have 2 left over. So my answer is 3 remainder 2. So it's an easy way to do it. If you think, well, how many 5s are in 17? Count it, 5, 10, 15. Well, I know there's 3, but I know from 15 to 17, I've got an additional 2 left over. So it's 3 remainder 2. Now, what I'd like to do is, on that same concept, I'd like to pause the video and have a go at this one. Now, if the place value counters don't help you, you can do what I explained a second ago. So you can count how many 3s are in 25. So count your 3 times tables and get until you get as close to 25 as possible. That's going to be your whole number. And then you need to work out, well, how many have I got left? So pause the video and have a go. Okay, well, I only have 2 10s here. And I can't partition 2 10s into 3 10s. I'm going to have to exchange them for ones, okay? So now I've got 25 lots of ones, and I need to think, well, how many groups can I split them into for 3? So I now need to work out, well, how many 3s can I get in 25? So I'll do 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. Now I can't go to 27 because that's too big. So I know I can get 8 lots of 3, okay? So I can get 3 lots of 8. So there's 1 8, 2 8s, and 3 8s. So I know altogether I've got 24. But to get from 24 to 25, I have an additional 1. So my 1 becomes my remainder. Okay, so my answer for each row here is 8 remainder 1. Okay, well done if you got that correct. Now, let's consider the rules for a remainder. So I know that 55 divided by 5 is 11. Okay, and I know that goes in equally because 55 is a multiple of 5. So that surely means I know that 56 divided by 5 must be 11, remainder 1. Because I know here that 55 went exactly, but 56 doesn't. So I've got an additional remainder. So that also means that 57 divided by 5 must be 11, but remainder 2. So we've gone from 55 to 57. I know that 58 divided by 5 is 11, remainder 3. Therefore, 59 divided by 5 is also then 11, remainder 4. So if I then get to 60, well, if I'm following the pattern of it being remainder 1, 2, 3, 4, that must mean that 60 divided by 5 is 11, remainder 5. Can anyone spot my mistake in that sum? Okay, well, I know that 60 is a multiple of 5. So that means that I can't have remainder 5 because actually that would tell me that that answer then becomes 12 because I know that 5 goes into 60 exactly 12 times. So the rule when it comes to remainders, okay, so if I show you this here, if I split that up and I have that additional 10, I can just exchange them for ones. But I know they equally go over, so I know the answer is 12. So the rule here is that the remainder must be smaller than the divisor. Now the divisor is the number we are dividing by. So if I'm dividing these numbers here by 5, I then can't have a remainder of 5 because that tells me the number goes in exactly, therefore there wouldn't be any remainders. So if I was dividing by 7, I know that I can't have an answer with a remainder 7 because that means that that number goes in exactly that many times. So it's got to be smaller. So the smallest number I could possibly have here is 11 remainder 4. I can't have a remainder 5. So based on that, I'd like to now see if you can complete these sentences. So pause the video and see if you can fill in the missing gaps. Okay, so when we're going to divide by 7, we know we can't have remainder 7, so the next smallest one that we can have, or the largest one, is going to be remainder 6. If we're going to be dividing by 4, we can't have remainder 4, so the next largest remainder we can have is going to be 3. When we're dividing by 36, okay, we can't divide it by 36 and have a remainder of 36, so the next largest number it can be is going to be 35. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is pause the video and have a go at questions 1 to 4. Okay, so apples are packed in bags of 8. Okay, now Dexter has 91 apples. We need to work out, well, how many bags does Dexter need so that every apple is in a bag? So this is where we really need to pay attention to the question, because this might trick some of you. So pause the video and have a think. What is my division sentence going to be? Well done. So it's going to be 91 divided by 8. Okay. So let's use our place value counters to help us. Okay, so I'm going to have 90, so 9 lots of 10s, and my 1. Okay, so if I now move those over into my 8 rows, I still have an additional 10. Now I'm going to partition that. So I've partitioned it as 80 and as 11. Okay, so now what I need to do is exchange that 10 for my 1s. So now I have 11 1s and I have 8 columns. Well, I know I'm going to be able to fit 1 1 in each of those columns. So if I have a look at this now, that must mean that each bag is going to have 11 in them. Okay, so I need 11 bags and I have my remainder 3. Now, Dexter, if we read the question, it says how many bags does Dexter need? Well, he clearly needs 11 bags, but he's got a remainder of the 3 apples. So I'm just going to leave those 3 apples to one side. Oh, you're saying I can't do that? Right, okay. Well, the question does say that he needs to have every apple in a bag. Well, I know that he's going to have 11 bags, and they're going to be full, okay? And each one of those bags is going to be full with 8 apples. But what am I going to do with these remaining 3 apples? Because he needs them. I can't just leave them on the sideboard. So actually, they're going to need to go in a bag as well. So although I'm going to have 11 bags that are all going to have 8 apples in, I'm actually going to need an additional bag, okay? Because I can't ignore that 3 apples there, because they also need a bag. So I'm going to have 11 full bags, but I'm going to have an extra bag that's only going to have 3 apples in. But altogether, that means I need 12 bags for all of those apples. So it's important to remember that those remainders will also need to go in a bag as well. So you're going to need to round that up to 1 extra bag. Okay, so keep an eye out for those ones in your questions. So based on that, we should now have a go at questions 5 and 6 on your worksheet, and I'd like to have a go at the additional questions I have sent home to you. Okay, good luck, year 5.